Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller. Yes, we are at the UASA. I tell you what, man, this conference, this meeting is so incredible. I mean, every inch you step, and we've taken all the steps, believe me, you find something so interesting. And another one of those is right here with us, Army veteran. And Hypori is the name of the company. And Jared Shepard is the president and CEO and the chair of Warriors Ethos, which we talked about on the show before, and we'll talk about that again. Jared, how are you?
I'm good. How about you guys? I mean, this is a lot of walking if you're talking about using that many steps.
Yeah, we were here yesterday. He'd been here all day today. We'll be here tomorrow. So, and then and I think we collapse for the rest of the.
I mean, your feet are pretty much fried by the time you're done here. Yeah.
So talk about this company of yours.
Sure. So Hypori is a highly secure virtual mobile operating system that essentially turns the way in which you access data from the edge on its ear. The idea is that I can actually access secure information like a secure enterprise. I can access that secure information from any edge device, but without actually sharing information with that edge device. So what does that translate to in layman's terms? Well, it means things like BYOD, the idea that I could use my personal phone and get access to the Army's NIPRNet, the Army's unclassified network, a government network on my personal phone. But with no government data actually on my phone, and without my phone being able to present any risk to the government's network. So it's the best of both worlds. I don't have to buy another government phone. I get to reduce the amount of risk to the government, and the side effect is, because our platform assumes that your phone is already compromised, right? Because it's, we joke, we say we were zero trust before zero trust was a thing. We assume that the phone is already compromised. The side effect of that is you get to keep all your privacy because our platform doesn't want to know what's on your phone. We don't care what websites you go to. We don't care what applications you have. Those two things never cross. Those two beams never cross. So it's the best of all the worlds is, complete isolation of protected information sets, i.e. government information sets, whether it's CUI or PHI or banking information, whatever it happens to be, from the physical edge device. So I can go to Instagram and do what I want to do, and then still interact with government data and not worry about those two things overlapping.
Wow, that sounds like magic.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's as a senior leader the other day said, "What voodoo is this?" But it's really neat because we're also a classified platform. So we're what's called the NSA CSFC, which is Commercial Solutions for Classified. So the NSA has a program in which you're allowed to access classified data from an edge device. We're one of the largest, if not, I think we are the largest deployed mobile classified platform out there. And
wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah. And it's I mean, almost all of SOCOM leadership today uses Hypori. But then, more impactful, ironically, than classified is this BYOD concept, the idea that any service member walking around here can get access to NIPRNet, which is the government's unclassified network, from their personal phone. And what that does is it gives them the latitude to be able to work from anywhere at their convenience. So rather than, which happens a lot, we always joke in the military, I'm an old knuckle dragger myself, rather than having formations or whatever, hey, if on Saturday at 2 p.m. you have to go sign a document, rather than having to go put on your uniform and go into the office to go do it, you could pull out your personal cell phone, open up the document, review it, sign it, all while you're watching football with your kids on the floor, right? So,
wow,
so it gives you latitude to actually to be more flexible in the way in which you soldier or the way in which you lead, and it prevents you from having to just consume everybody's time. So it gives additional time and space and flexibility.
Well, and you were one of the lead technical guys in the Army. Is that then developed a lot of the technical platforms when you were serving? Is that where you saw a lot of this need?
Well, so actually, believe it or not, I'm kind of the anti of that. I was a high school dropout homeless kid that joined the Army to get off. I was an infantryman, and then I realistically became an IT guy, and I got out as a sergeant. And then I came back as a contractor, and actually, I did get a chance to serve at very senior levels. I got a chance as a contractor to be a lead technical planner when we did the invasion in Iraq. I was able to be the acting J6 for the Joint IED Defeat Organization, it was amazing to see all these requirements. And as technology changes at a faster pace than the requirements can even evolve and catch up, the fact that we stumbled kind of into this capability, and then we had the vision, our team had the vision of hey, we could apply this in a way in which benefits the government, saves money, protects data, right, and protects the service member. So we say we protect all things that are important. So not just the government data, but also the service member using it.
Well, and we were talking to somebody the other day, and this is kind of getting into the weeds, but with all of this innovation coming about so quickly, right? Everything's changing every single second. I know with DoD and some of the other institutions, the procurement process is sometimes 2 years long, and by the time 2 years is up, it's old technology.
I mean, I think you're being generous in 2 years because sometimes it can be worse. But you talk about procurement. One of the big impacts that this is going to have is I'm sure you heard CMMC is out now. So now you got all these government governing requirements on businesses that businesses are like, oh, this is going to have an impact on us. And in a way it is, but at the same time, if you can't tell, like we actually have nation-state threat actors that are going against the United States. And when you look at, like, for instance, the Chinese Joint Strike Fighter, their version of the Joint Strike Fighter looks a lot like ours. Where did they get that from? Well, they didn't get it from stealing a government network information. They got it from hacking a contractor's network, right? And so us contractors, our responsibility to the government and defending our networks and protecting that, that comes in the acquisition side of the house. They're going to include CMMC in acquisition law, which is going to say if you want to participate in the government, you must meet certain cybersecurity requirements. We actually feel like that may be even a bigger place that we have an impact than inside the DoD itself, is enabling government contractors who need to be CMMC compliant to have really easy turnkey access to a CMMC compliant data access platform without having to build infrastructure, right? Without having to invest in hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars worth of infrastructure. Instead, they could buy it as a service, turnkey service approved and in use by the DoD today.
I want to ask you about your other passion here, Warriors Ethos, and we've talked about it on the show, and I kind of think we had you on the show talking about this, but what a great nonprofit this is. Helps veterans transition out, and helps spouses and caregivers, right?
It does. It focuses. We're willing to help anybody that's around that sphere. The main place we focus on is actually the transition task. So, I look at it. I told you where I came from, right? So being a guy that was what I was, and now where I am today, the idea of Warriors Ethos is like, let's make it sure that every veteran has that opportunity, right? That everybody who's served their country has an opportunity to be successful in some way, shape, or form. And transition is one of those things that we believe that there's still a large gap out there, right? There's a lot of other good nonprofits out there, but the idea of how do you successfully use your skills that you learned in the military and apply them outside so that you can be successful in whatever your next approach is. And we kind of say, like, look, we want you to be successful no matter what it is. You want to go into government? Great. You want to start your own business? Great. You just want to be successful at home and take care of your family and spend some much needed time with your kids? Great. But Warriors Ethos is there to kind of help you in that process. So if you're a veteran or if you're in the military and you're seeing this and you're thinking about getting out, if you're 12 months before you get out of service or 12 months after you get out of service, reach out to warriorsethos.org. Say, hey, I want to participate. We'll help you with your resume. We'll get you with mentors. We'll coach you into how to do that. And we're not going to go find you a job. We don't fish for you. We help you become a better fisher.
And that's one of the problems we hear so often is that you transition out, you lost your mission, you're looking for your next mission, and then things kind of go off kilter.
It is, because it's the military spends a lot of time teaching individuals to be technical experts at whatever their field is, right? And then you get about 10 days to figure out how to get out of the military, right? And how to go be a civilian, right? And so there is a gap there, right? There's a gap when it comes to understanding how you apply your skill sets to the commercial world. And one of the things I tell service members all the time is like, hey, the military probably facilitated for you to be successful in everything you can think of, except for the single most important skill. And I always challenge, what do you think that is? And I get all kinds of different answers, but the answer, in my opinion, is money. Nobody in the military actually understands how to use money, like business-wise. In the military, you
haven't had to.
Right, by design, right? You don't want commanders making decisions based on budgets, right? You want commanders making decisions based upon the lives of their soldiers and the mission. So, when you get out of the military, though, you don't make budget, you got to lay off 30% of your people, right? Your business could go under. What happens when people need to get bonuses? What happens, with the HR implications of that? There's all kinds of things in business that the military just doesn't prepare for. In fact, intentionally isolates a service member for. We can help you kind of prepare for that so you can better understand how, when you make that transition, you're going to be successful at what you do next. Because we say, like, look, your next job isn't the next thing that you're going to go do for 20 years. Your next job is just your next job. The days of, I'm going to do 20 plus years in the military for God and country, when you get out of the military and you take off that uniform, you put on this uniform, that changes. It no longer becomes that as the priority. It becomes, hey, how am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to be successful? How am I going to love what I do when I wake up in the morning, right? How am I going to feel valuable? How am I going to be a part of a team? And that's what we try to help veterans with.
And when you say help veterans figure that out, are you talking about helping them also to kind of find what their skill level is and their passions and that kind of thing?
Sure. So we do. Well, the counselors will sit down and kind of go, okay, hey, what's next? Like, what if you could be anything in the world? What do you want to be? Or what do you just want to be next? And then you try to figure out basic things like, okay, where do you want to be in life? Like physically, where do you want to be in life? Financially, where do you want to be in life? What are the objectives of your family? What are your education objectives? What skills do you have today versus what you want to get to? And when you start to map those things out, like one of the exercises I have to do is like, a service member and their spouse, like, hey, write down 10 things you want to accomplish in transition: location, vacation, money, access to family, whatever it happens to be, access to education, and then prioritize your top 5 and have your spouse prioritize their top 5. And together, those two things become essentially the left and right limit of what you're going to go do next. And the hard thing for service members to embrace a lot of times is what you go do next isn't the thing that you're going to do forever. It's just what you're going to do next. And it's okay to go do something next that's going to lead to the next thing after that. Right, and so teaching veterans that it's a very different than the way the military operates, right? But it's something that veterans are wickedly capable of doing, and they're very disruptive in business. They're very disruptive in government. I mean, we need to have people who have served their country then becoming successful leaders in some other capacity in our country.
And I mean, we say it all the time. That's why veterans make such great employees, make such great leaders and builders of companies. We have Mike Rowe on the show from time to time, and he's very famous for saying that there's a boot camp to get into the military. There's no boot camp to get out, right?
That was exactly what I was saying. Like they spend a lot of time teaching you how to do what you're supposed to do in the military. You don't get that time to learn how to get out of the military, right? And that's where the gap is. That's the reason why Warriors Ethos exists. That's the reason why we invest in that.
Thank you, man. Thanks for everything you guys are doing. That's fantastic. I
can
see your passion too. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
We'll be right back here in the National Defense.